All right? Out here once again on the highways and the byways, out here to prophesy against this wicked kingdom, which in the Bible is known spiritually as Sodom and Egypt, Mystery Babylon, amongst other things. As usual, first and foremost, we're going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kwadash, Shalom to you sincere Akim out there listening, learning, and pushing this truth, and Shalom to the few sincere Akwath that are out there listening and learning as well. Adawan Ratazah, this will be edifying. As usual, I'm going to go into Rakah, Kwadash. And as usual, started out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, the creator of the universe, who the world ignorantly calls God. God just means power. In the another name for God would be Allah. Allah means power. The creator of the universe, the supreme being, right? The Ancient of Days, as he's known in the scriptures. God has many titles, but he has one proper name. All right? And his proper name, in order to call upon God, you have to know his name in the ancient Hebrew. All right? Because that's the original tongue. Hebrew, the Lashuan Kodash, the pure tongue. So God's name in the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew, his proper name would be Yahweh. Yahweh means he is, he to be. All right? And his only begotten son's name, right? Because God is a boss. Boss of bosses, right? And what does a boss do? A boss delegates tasks, gives orders, right? So the only thing God did was create his only begotten son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? Again, but to call upon so-called Jesus Christ, his proper name, his true name, you have to call upon him in the Hebrew, just as you call upon God in the ancient Hebrew. So, so-called Jesus Christ's name, his proper name would be Yahweh Shai in the ancient Hebrew, the Lashuan Kodash, the Paleo Hebrew. So God is Yahweh, and his only begotten son's name is Yahweh Shai. All right? Yahweh means he is, he to be. Yahweh Shai means he saves, he delivers. And Yahweh Shai HaMashiach is coming back to save and deliver his people. All right? From their enemies. Who is God's chosen people? You tribes. You 12 tribes. You so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, North Americans, Seminole Indians. You are the Lord's chosen people. You are the ones that Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, so-called Jesus Christ, is coming back to save. And who do we need saving from? From our enemies. Chiefly Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, all right, who's ruling, who's in the power seat right now per Job 9:24, right? Tells you that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. But we need saving from Esau Edom and also these other nations that are confederate with him, all right? So without further ado, let's get into this lesson. Because it's beautiful times to be alive, man, for the hopeful elect. I mentioned that Yahweh Shai HaMashiach is coming back to save Yasharallah. You know, we're in a time of an exodus all over again. Out of what? Egypt. But not ancient Egypt. This time we're going to be delivered out of modern day Egypt, which is America. America is all throughout the scriptures, man. You know? America is supposedly, allegedly, the greatest empire on the face of the earth. So if the Bible is the greatest book ever written, you know, the only prophetic book, you know, that's why the Bibles are selling out like hotcakes, because it's the only prophetic book. What do I mean by prophetic book? The Bible is the only book that contains prophecies. What is a prophecy? Something, well, the prophets were called seers. The prophets did what? The prophets prophesied. They told you of things before they happened, all right? And how were they able to do that? Because they were moved by the Spirit of the Lord, all right? They prophesied according to the will of God and his only begotten son. And they warned you of the things to come upon the earth, right? Matter of fact, let's get Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8. Because whether you know it or not, We in the last days. We in the last days of the last days. And the last days really started over 2,000 years ago when Yahawashi HaMashiach was on the scene during the time of the Romans. That was the beginning of the last days. Now we in the tail end of the last days. All right? We in the time of our Lord actually returning. We're in the midst of the Third World War, World War III. We're in the midst of Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30:7. All hell breaking loose. All right? The kingdom is about to be ushered in. All right? But we know in order to get to the kingdom, as it tells you in Acts, we must go through great tribulation. So again, Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied. And what does it mean to prophesy? To say something before it happens. All right? And the prophets, we've been on the scene. Going back to around 1969, starting with our elder, Abba Bivens, who is Elijah, if you can receive it in the reincarnation. He turned the hearts back to the Father. You know? You know? And we've entered into other men's labor. You know? Me personally, my elders are the elder apostles of Great Millstone, GMS. Elder Apostle Tahar, Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Ramlab, Elder Apostle Rakar, all the elders on down, the bishops, teachers, all the brothers, you know? That's who I learned from. But they learned from their elders, all right? Because we've entered into other men's labor. And who really started this labor? Yahawashi HaMashiach. He was the only one that was worthy to open the seals. That's why he's worthy to be praised. And he will be praised, right along with the Father, all right? We're in that time where Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi is about to be exalted in the earth. Those names are about to be magnified in the earth all over again. And what's going to allow them to be magnified? This grievous judgment, these plagues that are coming upon the earth. Chiefly, the ultimate plague, which is going to be the destruction upon America. All right? Again, America is all throughout the scriptures. America figures prominently in the scriptures. It's the scene of great future judgment. America is the lake of fire, the second death. What do I mean by that? America is going to be completely engulfed in flames. What's going to do that? Intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, coming from all these nuclear-equipped countries. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, even some of America's allies. Per Revelation 17, I believe, and that's 10 or 11, your allies are going to turn upon you and burn you with fire. Germany, your mother, because America, we know America came out of England, right? The scriptures say, your mother shall be sore confounded of you. Even the Brits are going to turn upon you. And you can see it. You know, you can see it. And you could thank your leader for that. You know? So again, Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries. So if you call yourself a man of the Lord, a so-called preacher, prophet, you know, the Spirit is dealing with you, what would you be talking about in these latter times? You would be talking about destruction, judgments, plagues that are coming upon the earth, right? Because that's the testimony of Yahawashi. The Spirit of Yahawashi is the testimony of prophecy. That's what we're occupied in prophecy. So it says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms. Isn't America, again, allegedly the greatest kingdom that ever came into existence? America is an empire, you know? And guess what? It's a dying empire. It's on its last leg. No kingdom lasted forever, you know? The Babylonians, they came on the scene. They rose, you know, to the apex, and then they fell. The Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, you know? No kingdom on the face of the earth existed forever. The only kingdom that's going to be forever is our kingdom, you know? The kingdom of Yahawashi HaMashiach, you know? The kingdom of heaven, which is going to be on earth, you know? And we're joint heirs with Yahawashi HaMashiach. And that's what we're looking for. New heavens and new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. Because this world is wicked as hell. The earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. So again, it says they prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms of war. We're in the midst of the third world's war. It tells you in Revelations, the second will pass, the third will cometh quickly. You're not getting out of that Iran conflict, man. Matter of fact, they've been talking about going into Iran for decades, man. Decades. Now we here. It was a conspiracy allegedly before, right? We were conspiracy nuts. We've been told you they were going. We've been told you these things from our elder apostles on down. We've been told you that we're going to go into Iran. How can we say that so confidently? Because the prophecies. Ezekiel 38 specifically mentions Iran. But in order to figure that out, you'd have to know the history of the Iranians. The Iranians descend from the Persians. Okay? And they're spoken about in Ezekiel chapter 38. I might get that, you know? So we knew this is biblical prophecy playing out. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is gathering all these nations to the Middle East, Western Asia. For what? The Battle of Armageddon, the mountain of troops. He's gathering them into the valley of Yehoshaphat to judge them. For the battle to end all battles. Okay? And we're in that time. But before things get fully hot and heavy, all hell is going to break loose. You know? It's going to be no work, which I got that on deck. That's really what was on my spirit. You know? Beautiful times again if you're watching. Things are only getting worse. Each year that passes, things get worse and worse. What was breaking news? Spirit Airlines bankrupt. Suddenly. Matter of fact, let me get that. It says Spirit Airlines cancels all flights stranding passengers. So a whole airline went under. And that's the precedent. That's the common theme in the last, I say around from COVID, from the so-called pandemic. What's been trending? What's the common denominator? Everything's shutting down. Every time you turn around, more and more layoffs. You know, more and more bankruptcies, more and more retail stores shutting down. We were reporting about the dollar stores closing up. These malls are dead. You know, and this devil been lying, just like your leader, DJ Trump, a pathological liar. That's Esau Edom. If he's breathing, he's deceiving. The scriptures tell you about this devil. The North American Indians told you about this devil. To never trust him. Never trust the white man. He speaks with a forked tongue. He's the devil. He's the serpent. Why do you think Iran not trying to have no more talks with you, man? Because you're deceptive. The last two talks you had, what were you doing? You were really trying to do decapitation strikes. So they're not even trying to have talks to you no more, man. And this, again, your leader's a pathological liar. Oh, the war's over. The war's won. You know? This man is steady lying. Daily. You know? A pathological liar. And you people gobble up all his lies. But that's Esau. That's his MO. That's his modus operandi. That's how he gets down from his inception. Matter of fact, let me get a precept. Slovakia. Bear with me. This is Psalms chapter 58, verse 3. The wicked, and we know per Malachi 1 and 4 who the wicked are. Again, Job 9 and 24 tells you the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Who's ruling? Who controls this world? Who has the military might, the monetary might? Who controls the media, legacy media, mainstream media? You know, who controls your banking system? Who's behind the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, your central banking system? What group of people? That's a rhetorical question. You know, You want to know who's in control? Just look at your money. Whose face is on the money? As Yahushua HaMashiach told the Israelites when they asked should they pay taxes. He said, whose face is on the money? Render unto Caesar what belongs unto Caesar. Because what? These leaders are set up by the Lord. All right? Matter of fact, I'll get that in Daniel's. The Lord set this devil up, man, to show his power when he takes him down. Because this devil and these people believe they can't be conquered. They believe Esau's lies. Because that's all he does is spew lies. He's got the strongest military, the strongest Air Force, the strongest Navy. Really? So why can't you open up the Strait of Hormuz if it's so strong? You know? You got the best advisors and all this stuff. Why can't you fix your economy? Why can't you get out of that $39 trillion debt? You know? Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers. Who are the watchers? The servants, the prophets of the Lord. It tells you that in Amos. Surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto the servants, the prophets. We are the only ones that can truly tell you what's going on. You got all these so-called financial advisors, all these financial analysts, these preppers. Everybody can see the writing on the wall. This place is through. Everybody looking for safe havens. Everybody looking for an off-ramp. That's why gold and silver, cryptos are volatile. Why? Because everybody's trying to get away from the dollar, because the dollar is being devalued daily. More and more nations are dumping the dollar. More and more of these countries that hold your debt, like China and Japan, are getting rid of your treasuries. You know? You got these different nations, chiefly the BRICS nations, doing all type of workarounds to get around the petrodollar. So this place is through. But who's the only one that can break it down to the least common denominator and link it with the scriptures? The men of the Lord, as we're doing now. So it says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High God, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. So that's who's ruling right now. A base man, a reprobate, a sexual deviant, a pathological liar, you know, a demon. The Epstein gang, you know? But the Lord did that so that he could show his power and his might when he takes him down. Going back to Psalms 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. Who are the wicked? The Edomites, per Malachi 1 and 4. The self-proclaimed white man. It ain't hard to understand. All you got to do is check the receipts. Their wickedness, the receipts are a mile long. As the scriptures tell you, the sins of this place have reached the heavens. And what's the ultimate wickedness of this damn devil? What he did to the tribes. How he established America. Matter of fact, how he established all these countries, man. How did you get all these lands that you so-called rule over right now? You know? Did you trade for those? Did you buy those lands? Did you barter for it? How did you get those lands? The same way you got them in the past, by the force of the sword. Going way back to Alexander the Great, that your military experts worship. You know? They hold him in high esteem. Alexander the Great, Alexander the Conqueror. What was Alexander doing? He was oppressing the earth, stealing lands, you know, putting heavy taxes on people, you know, get down or lay down. And that's the same spirit of the Edomites in modern times. He hasn't changed. They call it colonialism, imperialism. They were going around as the Brits, the Dutch, the French, the Spaniards, Portuguese, the conquistadors. No, I call you the oppressors, because that's what you were doing, stealing lands. You know? Every year you celebrate Christopher Columbus like he's supposed to be held in high regard. Why? Christopher Columbus was a goddamn demon. When you read his memoirs, he said he couldn't put his sword down for 1 hour. That's how much killing he was doing when you read the memoirs of Christopher Columbus, whose real name is Cristobal Colon. Okay? Because he wasn't Italian, he was a Spaniard. And what did he do when he saw the indigenous people when he came over here? He said, I could conquer them with a small army. They're docile. They're peaceful. That's what he thought when he saw the natives. Talking about you discovered America. How could you discover something when you had indigenous people? You had people here before you got here, all in the Caribbean. You had the Arawaks, the Caribs, the Inca, the Boricuas, all in South America, all of Canada. You had indigenous people here. The tribes, the 10 tribes, the Northern Kingdom, Incas, Mayans, Aztecs, Cherokee, So how did you establish Florida? This is Seminole land, man. But that's this devil for you. That's this devil for you. So it says, the wicked are estranged from the womb, from birth. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. That's what this devil does. He speaks with a forked tongue. Again, if he's breathing, he's deceiving. He don't have your best interests at heart. He wants to destroy you. Matter of fact, I got another one. But the beautiful thing is we've been onto this devil. But now all these other nations, the world is seeing you for who you are. The devil the Bible speaks of. What do they throw in your face every time you go over there to these other nations? What happened in your own country? This is Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. That's this devil. He talks a good game. His parlor tricksters, his politicians. That's what they all about, deceiving you, deceiving the people, selling you a false hope. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. That's what's really in his mind, because your heart is your mind. The Hebrew word for heart is lab, your mind. That's what's really in the mind of these devils. When I'm talking about the elites, your what's his name? Graham, Lindsey Graham, is that his name? They're war hawks, man. All of those people in DJ Trump's cabinet, war hawks. Anybody that opposed him, what did he do? He kicked them out. Allegedly, last week he wanted to nuke fucking Iran, and one of his generals had to stop him. And what happened? The very next day, the very next week, he kicked them out. Anybody that's not with this, he changed the name of the Department of Defense. He changed it to the Department of War. So that showed you what type of spirit he was coming in. Talking about he wanted the Nobel Peace Prize. For what? So it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So that's what this devil does. He always comes peaceably. Just like he did to the Native Americans. That's how he always comes, lowly, crouching. Meanwhile, inwardly, he's a ravenous wolf. He's a sheep in wolf's clothing. That's his devil. But the beautiful thing is, we're in a time of this devil getting taken down. So going back to the point that I was saying, what was really on my mind was all these layoffs, all these businesses closing up. Unprecedented. I ain't never heard of that in my lifetime. A whole fucking airline just go under, out of nowhere, leaving all the passengers stranded all around. And it was a Spirit Airlines is known for having cheap flights, And it's so, when I was meditating on it, it's so, actually pun intended, so spiritual if you're paying attention. Because matter of fact, Isaiah 19, I'll read it real quick. Isaiah 19 and 3 told you that the spirit of Egypt would fail. Ain't that the Lord is cold, ain't he? That's like an inside joke for the men of the Lord. Spirit Airlines bankrupt out of nowhere, right? This is Isaiah 19 and 3. And the spirit of Egypt, I done told you America is spiritually Egypt all over again. America is all these wicked empires reincarnated. It channels all these wicked empires, the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire. They channel that heavy. We in Rome all over again, Rome 2.0. That's why you got that two-party system. The so-called red party, the blue party. Where does that come from? Your Senate, where did that come from? That goes back to the Greeks, the plebeians and the patricians. You know? I referenced Egypt. Why is there a pyramid on the back of your dollar bill? Huh? What is that all about? Why is there a chief city in America in the state of Tennessee called Memphis? What is that all about? Wasn't Memphis a chief city in Egypt? Huh? So America spiritually is all these wicked empires reincarnated. That's where they get their power from. You know? But the beautiful thing is, this empire is on its last leg. We're in a dying empire. America's circling the drain. It's been circling the drain. I'll say it really started around 2008 from that housing market crash. You ain't never really bounced back from that. You know, when they said the banks were so-called too big to fail. No, it was America is a big Ponzi scheme. America's built upon fraud. All these different systems are all systems based upon fraud. Your monetary system is fraud. You're not using real money. You know, they've been did away with the gold standard, silver dollar. All that's a thing of the past. Why is the dollar so-called strong? Because people have confidence in the dollar. It's not backed by anything. You know, like it was in the past in its inception. At one point you could actually take your dollar bills and go and trade in for gold and silver. You know, but they did away with that with the advent of the Federal Reserve. They did away with the gold standard. You see? So now America's only strong because of what? Confidence. And what's happening? The confidence in America is failing, dwindling. That's why all these nations are dumping these U.S. treasuries. They don't believe they're going to be able to get their money back. You see? Beautiful. So it says, Isaiah 19:3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord. Who's that cruel lord? DJ Chump. POTUS. What did he say? He said, we ain't got money for no Section 8 and Medicaid and Social Security. We got wars to fight. We got wars to fight. That's a cruel lord. This man went around and trimmed the fat in Babylon allegedly, but now we see why he did it. He was on a military campaign. And what is this military campaign about? He trying to get into the oil game. Liquid natural gas, that's what it's all about. That's now we understand why they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. They trying to disrupt the oil game, the oil market. They trying to corner the market. That's why DJ Chump said we got all these empty tankers coming to the America with, and you can get sweet oil. Sweet oil. That's what it's about. But what kind of oil they trying to export? Liquid natural gas. You know? All wars are fought over resources. And all wars are bankers' wars. That's the only ones that's really going to profit in these last days are the bankers. You know, the ones that are behind the damn military industrial complex. That's what stocks are going to go through the roof. Lockheed Martin stocks, Raytheon stocks, Glock, Smith & Wesson, you know. That's hey, Gerald Celente said that, you know. You want to buy when blood is in the streets. When all else fails, they take you to war. America's a dying empire. It's failing. It's imploding. Homelessness is at an all-time high. All around Babylon. You go to have you been downtown Orlando lately? Do you see what it looks like? And that's not just that's any metropolis, any downtown LA, downtown Anywhere you go, you're gonna see tent cities. Homelessness is rampant. That's trending on social media. You got something called the working poor. I mean the working homeless. You got people that got full-time jobs that are homeless, full-time jobs living in their car, taking showers in 24-hour fitnesses. Why? Because the spirit of Egypt is failing. Why? Because you have a cruel Lord ruling over you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start up. And again, that was so spiritual, pun intended, that Spirit Airlines went bankrupt. You know, because I believe Spirit Airlines is specifically an American airline. You know, and it's supposedly a cheap, affordable airline. And what are they saying? Why do they do that? Because the jet fuel prices are through the roof. It's not no longer it's not a feasible business model. You know, so we know more and more these airline companies gonna tank. You know, beautiful times. Hey, matter of fact, I just saw gas was what, $4.38 on the way up here, man. So beautiful. $5 gas is coming soon to a city near you. $5 and beyond. It's gonna get to the point where you people gonna have to make a decision. Am I gonna go to Am I gonna go to work? Is it economically feasible, or should I just stay home? That's the time you're coming into, and you could thank this cruel Lord, the king of Babylon, DJ Trump, and the Epstein gang. It's Isaiah 19:1. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud. That's talking about what you ignorantly call a UFO, a UAP. Those are the chariots of the Lord, the chariots of the angels, the vehicles of the angels. That's the way Yahweh Shai HaMashiach left. He left in a gigantic cloud, a gigantic ship. And that's the way he's coming back. As birds flying, so shall he defend Jerusalem. Passing over, he shall save. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud. He's coming quickly. Our salvation is nearer than we believe. And shall come into Egypt, that's talking about America, not ancient Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at its presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Guess what? Civil war is coming back to America in a big way. You can see it. These Babylonians are more divided than ever on every minute topic. They can't even agree what a damn natural born man and woman is. So how much more so more pressing arguments, you know? They can't even agree with how many genders somebody has. One person says 2, the next person says infinite. Him, they, she, us, we, our. Hey, that's why this place is called Babylon. The Hebrew word for Babylon is Babel, meaning confusion. This is the land of great confusion. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. That's coming. That's coming. Certain states been talking about seceding from the Union. You know? Texas, California, Florida. Hey, they made a movie about it. Civil War. What did they show you? That America was completely divided and they were fighting with one another. You know? Matter of fact, let me get that in the Salakia. Let me get that in the NLT. It reads more plainly. Salakia. Real quick. Bear with me. Salakia. This is Isaiah 19:2 in the NLT. I will make Egyptians fight against Egyptian, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, city against city, province against province. No, that's not the one I wanted. Salakia. Is it the GNT? No, I think that's marked. Salakia. Let me see. I can't remember off the top. think that's Mark. Yeah, the water. Mark 3 and 24. This is Mark chapter 3, verse. I'll read it in the KJV first, and I'll read it in the NLT. And Mark 3 and 23. How can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. And these devils, they're divided, one against another. You know? And the division's been here, but it's been getting more and more prominent. You know? Whole families are divided. You got whole families that don't talk to each other. Brothers don't talk to each other. Siblings don't talk to each other. Divided over what? Politics. Divided over you know, the way things are being governed. You know? So I'll read it now in the NLT. Straight to the point. Mark 3 and 24 in the NLT. A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. Similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. And that's what's going on with America. You know? Oh, I'll go even further. NATO and the EU, they're divided. The EU's divided. You got Spain talking about they're not going to help Trump. You know? So this place is through. Esau's through. Esau's on his last leg. And it's beautiful to behold. As the Lord said, only with thine eyes wilt thou see the downfall of thy enemy. We seeing the downfall of our enemy. We witnessing it. And it's beautiful to behold. So going back to Isaiah 19 and 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to wizards. Just like ancient Egypt. What did Pharaoh lean upon? His magi's on the left-hand side, you know? But what happened? Moses' power on the right-hand side was way more powerful than on the left-hand side. What's, in modern day terms, what's Esau's power on the left-hand side? His technology. That's what makes him so proud. His AI. Hey, they say DJ Trump and his cabinet, they were picking targets to strike because of Palantir. That's why his whole cabinet is a technocratic cabinet. You see? Because that's where their power lies, in their technology. But they're being deceived. So it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. Hey, this man was talking about implementing the purge. Your president said the cops should be allowed to purge. That's a cruel ass Lord. And a fierce king shall rule over them. Ain't that what they've been saying? They've been having no kings protests, you know? And you can't discard shit that DJ Trump says, because a lot of the things he says, you know, he's all over the place. But a lot of the things he says, when you look back at it, he be spot on, you know. And he was talking about not coming out of well, you know that happened last term. He didn't want to come out of his position. He didn't want to relinquish the throne to Creepy Joe. He been talking about implementing invoking the Insurrection Act, which is nothing more than martial law. If that happens, what's going to happen? He's going to be a forever president in this forever war. So you can't put nothing past him. Perhaps that's why he's been militarizing Babylon more and more. You've been getting accustomed to seeing soldiers on the ground. You've been getting accustomed to see men walking around with masks on, just dragging people out of their homes, dragging them out of their cars. You don't know who they are. Allegedly, they're ICE agents. Now they at the airports. So you can see the scene is being set. He cleaned house in D.C., kicked out all the homeless people. So you can see this devil. He got like ICE is like a goddamn Gestapo. You know, his personal agents to do his bidding. Because, again, DJ Chump is the king of Babylon, that cruel lord. And you about to see his cruelty. And who is he really going to come down upon? You tribes, with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. Because that's who's really in ISIS scopeo, you know? Crosshairs. You tribes, you know? They're not worried about these other migrants. You mean to tell me there's no goddamn Dutch and Afghani and all these other nations, Germans and shit, overstaying their goddamn green cards, their visas? Why is he so enamored with you tribes? You know? You tell me these goddamn gooks, they not overstaying their welcome? So it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord. You seeing the cruelty? Kicking you women off of Section 8, cutting your goddamn food stamps. You don't give a damn. Cutting your goddamn daycare. That's that cruel lord. DEI. What was DEI all about? Getting rid of you goddamn black women. They said the most people that got laid off were black women. You know? And it serves you right. You know? You don't need a man. You can do bad all by yourself. You're independent. You INDPENT. Keep that same spirit. You trust in you trust in your daddy. You trust in the oppressor. You don't trust in your man. That's why you run to him for everything. And guess what? He's reneging on that contract. The serpent is reneging on the Gardenian pact that he made with Eve. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Yeah, he has no respect for the old, for the young, women, children. He don't give a damn. You know? Let me jump down. Verse 11. Surely, Isaiah 19 and 11, surely the princes of Zoan are fools. Zoan was a chief city in ancient Egypt. So you can liken Zoan to like DC, Washington, DC. You know? All those cabinet members, they're fools. Why? Because everything they're doing is leading to the further demise of America. Oh, DJ Chump, I'm going to put tariffs on the whole world. How did that work out for you? Everything this man is doing is causing this place to collapse even more. Again, just wait. You about to see $5 gas, and you people really gonna lose your shit. $5, $6, that's coming. And it's coming quickly. Don't you realize how high gas is jumping in a short period of time? 20 cent, 30 cent? Can you not see the trend? Next is gonna be 40 cents, 50 cents. And you people gonna lose it. Because everything already going up. Cost of living going up. Utility bills going up. Everything going up, but you pay. Food, groceries. So it says, the princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Noph are deceived. The pride of their heart have deceived them. Their terribleness have deceived them. They have also seduced Egypt, even they that are the state of the tribes thereof. Yeah, you people, you tribes. You trust on oppression and stay thereon, especially you women. But you in for a rude awakening. The Lord Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. And that's the DJ Chump look like a goddamn drunken man. You know? Just look at his, you want to see what a drunkard looks like, the mind of a drunkard? Look at his Truth Social account. Look how all over the place it is. Look how he's double-minded. He's a drunken man staggering in his vomit. He don't know what's going on. He just taking marching orders, man. And I believe a lot of times he be up there freestyling it. Because he's the fall guy. He's the scapegoat. So they just letting him, you know. Hey, America had a grand opening, now it's having a grand closing. So they just letting Nero do his thing, man. As long as he stick to the script, he can say whatever the hell he wants. As far as the elites are concerned. So it says, this is the main point I wanted to tie in with Spirit Airlines collapsing. You know, because again, every time we turn around, it's more layoffs. And as I've been documenting, as I've been speaking on, at first it was like hundreds here, you know, 100 here, 200 here, 300 here. Now it's thousands. Every time you look around, companies are asking people by the thousands, man. And not just in Babylon, globally, because this is a global economic collapse. And why they collapse in the global economy? Because no fiat system lasted forever. This fiat system, this paper dollar money, all fiat systems eventually go back to their intrinsic value, which is nothing. Paper, it's worthless. They all go back to zero. And that's what's going on with the dollar. You know, but it's all being orchestrated by the wicked elite. When they came up with the concept of the dollar, they already knew it was temporary. The long game was what? The charagma for Revelation 13 and 16. The MOTB, the mark of the beast, the charagma, the RFID microchip. That's going to be the end-all be-all. All roads lead to the charagma. But a lot of you know about the mark of the beast, that no man can buy and sell save he that had the mark. So a lot of you are not going to willingly take it. So what did the elite say? We're going to make it so hard upon these people, they're going to have no choice. We're going to put them between a rock and a hard place. We're going to squeeze them. Every drop out of them till they submit. It's called the Hegelian dialect. Pressure from above, pressure from below. Order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. They're ushering in the chaos so that they can come in with the order. They're gonna let all hell break loose and they're gonna come down with the hammer. Complete control. And what's gonna allow them to have complete control? That chip. That's why everything is going digital. You know? All roads lead to the charagma. So it says, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. And it means exactly that. Ain't gonna be no work here soon, shortly. You know? The only job you're gonna have is either policing the people or working in a goddamn factory. And what are you gonna be doing in a factory? You're gonna be working towards the military-industrial complex, just as you did in the previous wars. That old Rosie the Riveter spirit, that's coming back in a big way. Hey, DJ Chump talked about Ford, all these American car companies. They're talking about turning their factories into making military equipment. Why is that? Because we're in the midst of the Third World War. Again, I read it earlier. The words of his mouth are smoother than butter, but war's in his heart. Oh, you know, that's what he's doing. Steadily deploying more Marines, more troops, you know, rerouting more and more USS carriers. Why? Because he ain't coming out of Iran. Again, they had Iran on the radar for decades, man. You know? But little do they know, that was a quagmire. That was a war they weren't going to get out of. That was a war that was going to lead to that is leading to their demise. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1. Remember now thy Creator. Ecclesiastes 12 and 1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not. What does evil mean? Evil is a compound word. Eve meaning time, ill meaning bad. So evil means bad time. Guess what? We in bad times. Bad times been here. And they here to stay. They're not going away. Things are going to get exponentially worse. Day by day. So it says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth. The scriptures say, seek the Lord while he may be found. Implying what? There's going to be a time where you're not going to find Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. There's going to come a time when you're not going to be casting these words behind you, but you're going to be trying to inquire. You're going to be trying to inquire how to be saved. You're going to want to know the names of the Heavenly Father again and his only begotten Son. Why? Because the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. You're gonna have questions. But guess what? You're not gonna have nobody answer them for you. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Best believe the famine of the word is coming. A famine of hearing this word. This is Isaiah chapter 24. I'll start at verse 10. The city of confusion is broken down. Again, I told you, America in the Bible is known spiritually as Mystery Babylon, Babylon the Great, amongst other things. And what does Babylon mean? And I'm not talking about ancient Babylon. Ancient Babylon is in the land of Iraq. You still got people that live in Iraq. You know? I'm talking about modern day Babylon. And in Revelation, it's known as Mystery Babylon, the whore that sitteth upon many waters, that's seeing a great future judgment. That's America. And what does Babylon mean in the Hebrew? Babal, confusion. So it says, the city of confusion, America, Babylon the Great, is broken down. You've seen it being broken down. America is a shadow of itself. That's why only thing you could do is look back to the old time. Look back to the 70s, the 60s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. Because looking forward, it don't look bright. Ain't no hope looking forward. You know, ain't no good prospects. As you 17, 18, about to graduate high school. You know, about to go to college, get you a degree, and what? You know. What's the new hot job to jump in? Like when my parents were growing up, everybody would go to college and get a goddamn business degree. That was trending. Then in my decade, in my lifetime, in my, you know, I was born in the 80s, so on. Now it was what? You don't do business. That's played out. No, you don't do that no more. You go get you a goddamn a technological degree. You go to MIT, DeVry. Go get you a computer engineering degree, computer science, something in the technological field. How's that working out for you now? You tech bros and shit, you know? Everything failing. Because we at the tail end of this empire. So again, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. Yeah, because there's about to be no work, about to be no food, about to be martial law. I was going to get into second episode 15, second episode 16, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time. We go through it all the time. You can read it for yourself. It's going to be sedition in the streets, invading one another. A man shall have no pity upon his, I'm paraphrasing, man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, and they shall go from house to house, destroying each other with the swords for the lack of bread, for fear, great tribulation. That's what's coming. Suddenly shall the sown places appear empty. The sown storehouses appear empty. And what's going to happen in that time? These people that were scoffing and scorning, all these people that heard this word, casted it behind them, these naysayers, they going to want answers in that day. As it tells you in Amos 8 and 11 on down, they're going to wander to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, but they're not going to find it. Because we coming into the time where Yahweh Bashim Yahushai about to hide himself, and he's about to hide his men. We coming into the time where we're not going to be a reprover no more. Our tongue is gonna cleave to the roof of our mouths. You know, we kind of in that spirit already. If we perceive you not sincere, what we gonna tell you? Go to them that buy and sell. You know, we in a time of hey, our candle being trimmed. You know, you ain't got time to be wasting on oil, on no reprobates. You know, at least I have no oil for me. You know, go to them that buy and sell. So again, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. Gonna be marauders, because you know they got doomsday preppers, but you got something called doomsday wolves. You got people that foresee the economic collapse, and they say, fuck that shit. We ain't finna store up nothing. We ain't finna store up victuals. You know, MREs and all this type of shit. We gonna stockpile swords, guns, bullets, and we gonna click up with like-minded people, and we gonna be the Negan gang. Like Walking Dead Negan with what was that? Sophia, Lucille. He had the bat. But what was Negan's crew doing? They were doomsday wolves. That was the definition of a doomsday wolf. If you had it, they went and they took it. You know, and they were ruling with a hammer, a rod of iron. You know, so that's the time that we're coming into. You're gonna have groups of people going from neighborhood to neighborhood, kicking in doors and taking whatever you got. Hey, the military gonna do that. Because you got laws on the books about hoarding. You know? So what's gonna happen in that time? All you people that were scoffing this morning, these naysayers, you're gonna be crying for answers. You're gonna be looking for mercy. Because right now it's mercy. The doors of mercy are still open. It's cracked. A little sliver of light is still there, but it's about to be slammed shut, and only judgment is going to commence. So it says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. What wine? The best wine. Yahushua HaMashiach's wine, which he saved for last. Surely I'm botching it, but he set forth the apostles last. You know? So it says, and what is this wine? This new wine? It's really not new. New in the sense of kainos, refresh. We're being brought back to remembrance, though we once knew this. You know, we're being reinvigorated, re-sparked. You know, as the scripture tells you, the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. We're coming back in our lot. You know, and we got the wine. We got Yahushua HaMashiach's wine. We got the truth. We got the full understanding. You know, these people don't. And as I was reading earlier, everything they believe in is going to fail them. Everything they trust in is going to fail them. You know? So it says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. Why in the streets? Because they're going to be in the streets looking for the men of the Lord, because that's where the men of the Lord are, on the highways and the byways. You know? So it says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. Hey, that's the time that we're coming into. The fun in Funland is going to come to a screeching halt, stop, overnight. Hey, don't be surprised. I can see it, man. Through the Spirit, just speaking as a man, I can see it's going to be one day, a Friday, a Wednesday, Monday, whatever. You're going to wake up, the stock market, hey, it tells you that the stock market is going to crash. That's in Zephaniah. There's going to be a howling from Maktesh. You're going to wake up, the stock market is going to crash. You're going to go to the, you're going to see the oil prices through the roof, $5, $6 gas, or even higher. You're going to start seeing all these layoffs. You're going to get all these messages from your loved ones, your co-workers and shit. People going to bug the fuck out, man. And then after a brief moment of bugging out, they're going to have a moment of clarity and say, wasn't that what those crazy niggas on the corner were talking about? When they talking about times like this? And you're gonna go on the internet. You're gonna try to go to our websites and shit. You know, our social media accounts. And guess what? They're gonna be scrubbed. Esau gonna scrub the internet. You know. Then you're gonna go back to the different places that we've been preaching in. You know. And you ain't gonna find us. And you're gonna bug the hell out. So it says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. So that's the point on that. Let me see. Wrapping it up. Salakia. Wrap it up. Let me see. Something that this is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1. Because this is really foolish, man. The foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. You know? 1 Thessalonians 5 and 1. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. Again, this is really foolish, man. You could, if you got eyes, ears, a little brain in your head, you can clearly see what's up. You ask the average Babylonian Do they think we in the last days? Majority of them are going to say yes. They can't really quantify or put it into words why they feel that way, but in their spirit, they know something is wrong. They know something is about to give. Something has to give. So it says, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord out of one so cometh as a thief in the night. Why is it going to come as a thief in the night? Because most of these people, they're putting the day of the Lord off. You know? They're putting it afar off. It's the furthest thing from their mind. But not the men of the Lord and the few aquaf that are watching and you know, the few that follow the Lamb wherever he go. We can clearly see. We can gauge through second Ezra 9. We're measuring the time diligently. Hey, Habakkuk 2, though it tarry, wait for it, it shall not tarry, it shall surely come. Hey, the vision is no longer being prolonged, you know? For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord out of one so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, and that's the spirit that most of these people are in. They're in a docile, comatose, lackadaisical, no care in the world spirit. And that's the worst way to be. For when they shall say peace and safety, a lot of you got a good job, you trust in it, you know, you've been there for, you got a little bit of seniority, you know, you just know that job is waiting for you on Monday, you know, you just know you about to retire, you about to collect your full pension, you know, rudely mistaken. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. There ain't no escaping this judgment. The only ones that are going to escape are the remnant, the elect. Out of one Ratazah, we be of that number. That's why we give it diligence, to make our calling and election sure. Because many are called, but few are chosen. It's not enough to be called, we want to be chosen. We need that hedge of protection, that the wall around us in the time to come, being exempt from judgment. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness. Most of these people are in darkness, as it tells you, gross darkness covered the people. That day should overtake you as a thief. You are all children of the light. What's the light? Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, this truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Ye are all the children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others. Yes, high time to wake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than even we believe. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. What does it mean to be sober? Meaning focused, eyes single on what? The kingdom, the return of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. We can't allow ourselves to be entangled with the affairs of this world, this life. As it is written, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. That's the point. I'll wrap it up there. So, hey, that's what we got to do. We got to keep watching, keep praying. As it is written, pray without ceasing. Yahweh Shai said, till I come, give attendance to reading. Occupy till I come. What are we occupied in this thing of ours? Watching, praying, you know, using the world, not abusing it. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Adawan Ratazah, this was edifying, exhorting, and comforting to the remnant, the elect. Again, as usual, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to our power. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kwadash. Shalom again to you sincere Akim out there listening, learning, and pushing this truth. And shalom to the few sincere Akwat that are out there listening and learning as well. Shalom, wa abad babal, kwam yasharallah.